I am Todd Stashwick, and this is the Shuttlepod Show. I said the joke was they should just do an in memoriam and show Spock's death and Data's death and Picard's death and Shaw's death. Like it's Star Trek, and they go, okay, we'll just, if they want him back, they'll figure out how. And Terry's got some great ideas.
You're just mostly dead.
Yes.
You're
Hello, Polly! Thank you.
This bird's
It's resting.
It's resting. This is a dead bird.
Gonna go and do my convention thing. Got my costume, I'm going now. Yeah, we're having a ball. It's Star Trek, y'all. Hey, down the border, beam me up.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Shuttlepod Show. Today we have very special guest Todd Stashwick. We'll be answering your fan questions, doing some Star Trek trivia, finding ourselves on Connor's remote island, of course, and much more. As always, our Patreon members get a full extended version of this episode. I'm Erica LaRose, but before we move on, we have a special message from Andrew Robinson.
Like, subscribe, and join us on Patreon.
Thank you, Andy.
Thanks, Andy.
You're the best.
You sound good.
That's right.
Now for our hosts, Connor Trinneer and Dominic Keating. All right,
Hi,
guys.
Hey,
How are you guys doing?
good. How are you?
I'm great.
Seems to have our weather back.
Yes.
Yeah, we do.
It's nice. It's
Thank
nice
God,
today.
right?
I didn't
You
even
know?
have to wear my jacket. I feel great.
Spring has sprung.
Wash has also
Hopefully.
got a haircut for the spring.
Yeah,
Yes.
Wash hasn't looked this good in a very long time.
Aw.
No, he hasn't.
Is that a fig? What is that?
It's an avocado.
Okay.
At least that's his story.
It's
and
an
he's sticking
avocado
to
tree.
That's
Yeah.
avocado tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in a pot that was made for 9 pounds of feta cheese.
Look at that.
And
He's become.
They made a uniform for him.
How would you say it? The
Mascot.
The mascot of the show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
Bless
sell
him. He's got t-shirts and.
We have a wash gang.
And
Yeah.
there's a
love
Discord
this
server
world.
dedicated to
and he's
wash.
always talking shit about me.
Gunning for your job.
That's because you shaved
He
it.
lived in my house for fucking 10 months.
He did.
I think he'd be more grateful.
Wow. Yeah. You know.
He clearly
Plants.
misses you.
Look at me.
Yeah, I know. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Treks and Trekkers, it is a thrill to have someone who's not a dipshit from Chicago.
Well, actually, I am.
Well,
No, I mean, I literally,
We'll get into that.
literally are. I literally am from Chicago and have been known to delve into dipshittery.
That's true.
from Picard Season 3, Captain Liam Shaw, Todd Stashwick, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Welcome to the family.
Oh,
Yeah.
my goodness.
You are in the family now.
That's right.
The family way.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be joining this incredible thing, Star Trek?
Well, you've.
Let's go back a bit because you did an episode of ours, didn't you?
I did. I think it might have been more than one.
Was it
was
more
a
than
couple.
one?
I think it was a couple, like a two-part.
Season 4 was it a two-parter?
Yeah, it was the T'Pau, young T'Pau episodes. I was Talek, who was I was a Romulan disguised as a Vulcan. And chronologically speaking, if you watch the shows in order, the first Romulan ever revealed
Is that right?
on screen. If you watch them in chronological order,
You're the
if
origin.
Enterprise, I would be the first one that an audience would ever have been revealed.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah,
So
it's
you
pretty
worked with Joe. That was nice.
I did, and I
Yeah.
worked with Scott, and then my friend Kara Zedeker played T'Pau.
Oh.
Yeah, so that was cool. I mean, it was, being. I grew up with this stuff, so
Yeah, you're can I say you're a proper geek?
I nerd deep.
You're
Yeah.
nerd deep.
Sounds like me.
You have a company, Nerd Circus.
Because it's sort of like when I kind of take the gestalt of my life. That's what it is. Like between what I have done on screen and how I spend my time off screen, there's a whole lot of nerdery, and so it just sort of felt like the perfect name for my company.
What was your first introduction to sort of nerdery growing up in
I am
Chicago?
not pandering when I say this,
Uh-huh.
but 6 years old, 1974, my cousin Tori gave me Kirk, Spock, and McCoy Mego action figures.
Kidding.
Because we were watching that, and it was sort of it was that and Planet of the Apes were sort of my gateway drugs
Right.
into my young imaginary life. And then 77 hit, and it was The Hobbit and
The world
Star
changed.
Wars. The world shifted
Yeah.
seismically. And then, those were the big ones, would be Star Trek, Planet of the Apes, Star Wars, and like Tolkien, like D&D. And
Did you have a Doctor Who thing? Did you like
I
Doctor
do, but that didn't come till later. Like I was not a Doctor Who kid.
Like a
I
Tom
started
Baker
with
or
Eccleston.
I don't
yeah.
think. I don't think you could get Doctor Who.
You
in
could.
the-
sure did.
you
It was
get
on.
in
It was
the-
on
in the
PBS.
States? Was it?
It was on.
Yeah.
PBS.
All the way back then.
Yeah,
And I remember the theme song.
I
And who would have
begrudgingly
been
watched.
that Doctor? Was that John Pertwee? Or?
No, it was Tom Baker.
Tom Baker.
That I remember. That was the first one that showed up for us. And then the blonde guy who was next after that.
Yes.
I don't remember his name.
Davison.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, Peter.
I forget. Peter Davison.
Yeah.
Well done.
Who's David Tennant's wife's father.
Is that David Tennant's wife's father? God, that's
Yeah,
that's Doctor Who.
So Peter
nepotism right
Davison is the father-in-law of David Tennant.
there. No kidding.
Yeah,
Oh, that's full circle.
So that's how he got the job.
Wow.
after they met on the show.
So you're born in Chicago.
Born in Chicago.
And
Same hospital as Harrison Ford.
No
really?
kidding.
26 years apart.
are you both on the Wall of Fame?
At the hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to go sign some stuff. Actually, I just put my little footprint
Yeah, exactly. Todd Stashwick
next
was
to
here.
Harrison Ford's.
What's the name of that hospital?
Both captains of starships.
They see?
Come
there you
on.
go.
Yeah.
So that hospital's batting 2 for 2.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. What was your question?
What's the name of the hospital? Where'd you-
Swedish Covenant Hospital in Chicago, Illinois.
All right.
And so, as young as the age of 6, you get indoctrinated into all of this.
I did.
And when did it translate to, sense of performing?
career?
And
Well, quickly in that you're already creating stories and playing characters with your action figures.
Right.
As an adult, we leave them in the packages, and I still collect them. But around my junior year of high school, because I was doing theater, but I was also doing a lot of art, and I was painting and drawing, and that was going to be the career. I thought I was going to be a cartoonist.
Did you?
Yeah, and then, but I couldn't handle critique on my drawings. I was like, this is the inside of my head. You don't get to tell me how to do it.
yeah, just love it.
But yeah, to me, it was being born correctly. So I couldn't handle somebody going, do it better. I'm like, it's perfect. I mean, I was wrong, but it was how I felt. And I did not have that feeling about taking direction because it was somebody else's script and it was somebody else's directing and it was somebody else's lighting. And,
Right.
and it was
Wasn't so personal.
and it was super social, and I was a loud kid. And so around junior years when I think I was like, yeah, you know what? I think I'm not going to pursue art as a career or visual art as a career. I'm going to pursue performing art.
Another one that's guaranteed to make you a ton of money.
Lots, very, very high success. Very high success. Yeah.
So when do you get involved in the Second City and improv and all that?
So as much as I had a love of Star Wars and Star Trek and all of that, that was just like my childhood passions and the kind of entertainment I sought. But the other kind of entertainment I sought was essentially I just wanted to be Bill Murray. That was
Really?
all. That's all I wanted to do was
Yeah.
be a Ghostbuster. And
Oh God, me too.
I saw
I
Meatballs
used
like
to pray as a
400
kid
times. Yeah.
to be
And so,
with Ghostbusters.
yeah, and he was from Chicago, so we both really pitched in the same strike zone. And so that's all I wanted to do. And so in college, I just was like plotting my path. And I was like, well, if I connect the dots back, if I want to be on Saturday Night Live, I got to start at Second City. And I was already a Chicago kid, and that's kind of a cornerstone of Chicago theater.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And as far as I know, in Chicago theater, you don't get paid a dime or $10.
No, I got paid.
Did you?
No, I got paid. I got paid to tour. I was a professional actor at 23 or 24.
Oh, yeah.
And so that's when I got hired to the touring company. And I was
That was
really...
with Second City, right?
With Second City.
And you went. What was it? The Detroit.
I did a little
touring,
stint in Detroit.
and
then I came back to Chicago and then wrote a final show in 95. And I was in really good company at the early 90s.
Who were your alums then?
Adam McKay, Stephen Colbert, Stephen Carell,
Wow.
Amy Poehler, Tina Fey.
Wow.
Hacks.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of hacks.
Wow.
People that basically shaped modern comedy.
no
But it
kidding.
was funny because my route was always also attracted to all of this. And
Right.
so as much as I love doing comedy, I also loved doing drama, and I also loved pulling comedy into my drama.
You can tell in the show.
You can.
Smart ass is what you're saying. But yeah, so I was up for SNL in '95. So the arrow was pointed, and that was.
Are you still in Chicago at the time, or have you moved
Yeah,
on?
well, I was flown out to. We got to stand where the host does his monologue, and do my 5 impressions and.
What is an audition for SNL?
Yeah, so it was like 3 or 4 original characters, and then 3 to 5 impressions, because it's a big show that relies heavily on pop culture, and so that's what it was. It was impressions and characters, and
So you've got characters already set from
because I've been doing Second City, yeah.
And what impressions do you do?
Well, it was the '90s,
Come on, then.
so I think I did like Keanu Reeves and like Christian Slater,
Right.
I think I did Paul Reiser, Michael Stipe, Tommy Lee Jones. It was the '90s. Come on,
yeah.
And so it was.
Can you still do Stipe?
Well, what we were doing, we
think
were
what that would
touring.
go like.
We were touring Second City, and one of the bits that I did with Miriam Tolan, who is a tremendous comedic actress, she would do Natalie Merchant from 10,000 Maniacs. Again, it was the '90s,
Sure.
and then I would do Michael Stipe, but we would do like children's rhymes. Like children's nursery songs, but we would do them to REM, and so it was like, "Hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle," So that was super fun, and then when he would speak, he would sort of speak very much, and it was always very
There he
important.
is.
It was very, very important
And thoughtful.
very thoughtful. So that was the audition, and I didn't book it, but it was enough to say, "Hey, it's time to leave Chicago."
Yeah.
Right.
Did you get involved immediately in, sort of Upright Citizens Brigade or any of that
No,
stuff?
actually,
or Bradley?
they were at the time. So I moved to New York in '95. Yeah, '95, and at the time, UCB was when I was in Chicago. UCB was like Adam McKay, I think, and Matt and Amy and Ian, and they were their own thing, and they had just kind of landed around the same time I landed, and I created a group with a bunch of other knuckleheads from Chicago called Burn Manhattan, and Shira Piven, who is Jeremy's sister and Adam McKay's wife now.
Right.
She was our director, and we had there was myself, Matt Higgins, Kevin Scott, Jay Roderick, John Teese, and Kate Walsh was in our group.
God, there is such a mafia there, isn't there, in Chicago?
Yeah.
It really
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
The comedy mafia of America.
And we brought it to
Amazing.
We formed that group in New York, and Shira directed us, and it was pretty trippy and fun.
Did you have a venue there that you worked out?
We
or
kind of
did
were.
you tour around a bit?
We sort of slept around in the Lower East Side.
Right,
It was like there was a whole bunch of places that were still named for the venues they used to be. So it was like the Piano Store, the House of Candles, and just little black box theaters.
And they were still cheap enough to rent out. And
Yeah.
no.
And then you'd get enough for whiskey money afterwards, and then paying for next week's flyers, and
They're all Prada stores now.
right,
Right,
And, like
exactly.
Stanton and Ludlow,
Yeah. So what brings you to LA? You did some time in New York, and then
So while I was in New York, just going back and forth for pilot season, and at this point I had a 2.5-year-old, and so she and I were like, my wife and I, with our son Oscar, and he's now 25.
You have an adult.
I have a grown ass man.
Wow.
And we also we have a 15-year-old.
wow.
And so it just was like, wow, those are really far apart, New York and Los Angeles. So if I'm spending as much time out here with pilots and things like that, it just was time to
Gotta
move.
go. Yeah.
I had a really good sense in my career of sort of licking the finger and seeing which way the wind was blowing.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is your wife in the game, in the business?
She's a writer, but she's not. She wants to. She's a author.
Right.
I mean, she has written screenplays that we're trying to get produced, but primarily her passion is in. Like she's a Dune person, like she loves Dune, and she like epic world building, and that's her jam. And she's got a really good novel that we're going to try to get
I'm
published.
curious how your house might be designed on the inside.
It's much like have you see me sitting here? Yeah. My house looks like this. It is lots of toys, of toys. I'm a big collector of like sideshow and comic book and memorabilia and stuff like
Are
that.
the kids into it?
They are. We have unfortunately passed that gene on to them.
Do you have any specials? Like, do you have firsts issues of this
A
or
couple
that?
things that are pretty great. I have the original pencil sketch of Star Wars #2. So like when they in the 70s when they put out the comic books, they had the covers. I have the original pencil sketch of the cover of that. I have a Revenge of the Jedi poster. And so those of you at home who are keeping score, that's a thing of value.
It's a big thing, is it?
Yeah, because they changed the name to Return of the Jedi, and so there was a limited number of posters that were pre-released called Revenge of the Jedi, and so to have one of those,
Where'd you get one of those?
I got sources, Dominic.
I know a guy.
I'm not telling you.
Chicago Mafia.
Nerd Mafia. Yeah.
Nerd Mafia.
Nerd Mafia.
And then I have my original Kenner action figures.
You still have those? Oh, wow.
Dude, come on.
You have to.
Come on.
Yeah.
Are any of your kids actors?
No, but they are in entertainment. I mean, they've both done theater. My daughter actually took Second City LA classes for a little bit, and she loved it. And then my son is an animator, and he's looking for work. He's a great 2D animator. He was working on a project, and now that ended, as we all know. And my daughter, at 15, she wants to be like Stan Winston. Like she wants to build puppets and animatronics, and that's her jam. Like Henson, like she does costumes and
That's come back too, isn't it? I mean, they
practical effects.
Yeah,
100%.
Yeah.
So that's her jam. That's what she wants to do.
So you hit town,
I hit
LA,
town. Yeah.
and
2000.
how does it go?
Not bad.
Yeah.
Not bad. Again, I have since the career itself is a leap of faith. Like I'm gonna pursue the arts as a career. I tried to make sure that every other move was a smart one. I didn't just get off a bus and go, now what?
Right. $10 right here.
Right. When I got out of college, I started tearing tickets at Second City Northwest, which was right by where I grew up. And so that when I wanted to finally move downtown, I could transfer that job and have a job, just a survival job.
Right.
So then I got an agent in Chicago. But when I went out for SNL, I was being, everybody's like, oh, he could potentially be on Saturday Night Live. So let's sit down with him. And I got to interview with a lot of agents. So I didn't leave Chicago until I had an agent set up in New York. That agent was bi-coastal, so I knew I would have an agent in LA. So all of my moves were a bit strategic.
Right.
Yeah.
So I wasn't ever just kind of like, dun, 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 like big city.
Was that partly because you had a family? Or was
No,
it-
but it was it predated that.
Oh, it
I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that my mom, my father was he fixed machines, and there was a very like, you do this, you do this, you do this, and then you get this result. And my mom was an accountant, so very much like, do the math of a thing, take as much unknown out of it.
Right.
Because there is a whole lot of unknown, but if there are unknowns I can remove, do that.
Yeah.
And then you see what's left. Those processes ran deep. And I was always making something.
That's how I engineered it too. Even coming to America, it was something of a risk, but there was always a backup.
Yeah.
And you give yourself a certain amount of time.
Well, I never
if
had a
it's-
backup. I sealed off the exits.
Well, Oh no, there was never a backup about not being an actor. But
Right.
it was, if this isn't going to work out in this area here, then I'd get back to London. But
Got it. That's what you mean.
But there was what is it? It's orchestrated risk, isn't it?
Yes.
You.
I mean, it's a leap of faith.
You
So
have to take that leap of faith. You have to declare.
I made sure I had enough money to not have to get
There
a
you
job
go. There
for
we go.
9 months.
that's nice.
Wow.
That's what
That's
I
smart.
did. Yeah.
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 And you did I looked at your bio, man. It's enviable. I mean, you have worked pretty non-stop.
Well, it's because I play villains.
Since the day you came to
and
town.
they die.
Then they die.
So you obviously have to get
And
the
they
next
need
one.
more.
You have to get the next one. You have to get the
I was
next one.
saying to Connor earlier, I mean, it was in 2004 to 9, you booked 7 jobs a year every year.
It was.
I mean, I can only imagine what that's like with your age. You're going, yeah, they want you for this. They want you.
I think
Good feeling.
it was interestingly. I had done a show with Eddie Izzard. So Eddie used to say to me, "You have to pick a lane. Like pick comedy. Like ride that hard, and then you get to make choices from there." Or pick drama, ride that hard, and then you get to make choices from there.
Or just wear skirts.
Make choices.
But that's who she is. So
That's the other advice he gave me.
I think my asset and my curse was that wasn't fun. I loved being able to do Dharma and Greg and then do Law and Order.
Right.
Like I loved being able to move between these worlds. Now that being said, all of my Second City compatriots that locked hard on comedy.
Yeah.
Like the line was very straight and they kind of just kept standing on the thing they just did. My line has been like this.
Right.
And so, at 54, I still feel like I'm getting warmed up. But I've had so much fun.
I bet.
Like getting to do all the cop shows and dramas that I've done and then all the half-hour sitcoms that I've done.
Right.
Have been deeply rewarding, but it makes for a slower, longer journey up the hill. Yeah.
And in the meantime, you've continued to do the improv. Do you still teach?
I used to co-run a school in the Valley for years. It's just not tenable. Like I'm trying to solicit students and then pay rent and organize that and organize shows, and my work got in the way. Like I just didn't have the time, and so now D&D scratches that itch a little bit because I'm still gathering people. We're improvising a story. There's that social nature of improv that still gets satisfied by doing D&D, and it's also a deep community like the improv community. So I love that, but I have not gotten on a stage and improvised in a long time. I mean, a little bit on the cruise. We had to do silly nonsense there, but yeah.
But is the school still around?
No, that closed years ago.
You had a group as well.
So I had a group in New York called Burn Manhattan, and then I moved here, and I didn't want to do the same kind of show that I was doing with them. And what I wanted to do was something really theatrical. I had seen a show in New York called Shock-Headed Peter. That was the Tiger Lilies doing these German folk tales, cautionary children's tales, horror, macabre. And so I wanted to do something like that. And so what eventually came out of it, it's so absurd, is the show was we were 4 people who were killed in a brothel fire in Victorian London, and our ghosts were damned to do an improvised show.
Because why not?
Duh.
Sounds like hell.
And so it was
Where
all
was the
done-
90s?
No, actually, this was the 2000s. But it was like full like cabaret makeup and bowlers, and we had a 3-piece band. It was the Doubtful Guests, is what it was called, and it was like sort of these improvised musical Grand Guignol, Edgar Allan Poe, Edward Gorey-esque stories. We'd sort of challenged ourselves to never have any modern references in the show.
Oh my God.
And it did well. We would bring it out around Halloween. It was described as Bertolt Brecht meets Monty Python, and I'm like, that's it.
That's perfect.
I'll take that.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I'll
Wow.
take that. And so we would take that to festivals and stuff around the country, and it was a blast.
You would just go, what are you smoking? Do you think that? A brothel fire in Victorian England.
I like the idea of a show within a show. So we were characters, like we played these characters, Vesta, Vasilis, Rufus, and Bach, and they were the ones who then had to do the show. So we would be these characters who would then improvise scenes in other characters.
Yeah.
So there was like, so we could break character, meaning like, so I'd be this horrible person, right? And then and then I'm the magistrate, right? And then I would comment on it, like, that, you look stupid. And then, so it would always fall apart. The show would fall apart, but it would fall apart in character.
Right.
And then we would end up killing each other again. And it was a blast.
What were you all doing in the brothel to be burned alive? Were you patrons?
I had my cravat tied. I was cheating at cards, and these roughnecks tied my cravat to the poker table, and then dumped a lamp on the table and burned the place down. Right. And we each had different whatever we were doing, and we even had our costumes slightly singed and stuff. It was a blast.
How many years did you do?
We haven't done it since, I want to say 2018, but it ran for 15, 20 years before we...
Wow.
Yeah, we started in 2000.
So,
2001, actually, 2001. We started in 2001. I remember, like, our opening night was shortly after 9/11, and we're like,
oh boy.
I hope people want to see something like this.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, it was a fun escape for a lot of people in those really weird times. Yeah.
So did you meet Terry Metalis when you came and did our show in the 4th season? Did your paths cross then?
Not that I know of.
Not that you know of.
Not that I know of. So my only recollection of meeting Terry Metalis is when I auditioned for 12 Monkeys.
For 12 Monkeys, right. And then you worked with him then.
Yeah, 4 seasons of that. And that changed my life. Took me to Prague and Comic-Cons, and it was this lovely little cult hit, and something I'm very, very proud of.
12 Monkeys is awesome.
Thank you.
It's awesome.
Thank you. If people haven't watched that with Picard ending, I recommend that they dive in. There's a lot of similar vibe, a lot of crossover. It's part of Terry's kind of calling card. It's his 12 Monkeys was his passion project, so he put a lot of Easter eggs in Picard from 12 Monkeys.
Oh, we did?
Yeah.
Oh, that's
we got
great.
a lot of questions about that.
Yeah. So he actually took my guest star character on 12 Monkeys and turned it into a series regular by season 2. And we just had the time of our life. I mean, it's a really good show. It's filled with like pop culture stuff, really good hard sci-fi, and very similar to Trek in that like Barbara Sukova plays essentially a captain. There's a bridge, but instead of a bridge, it's where the time machine is.
Right.
She sends us on away missions instead of planets. It's time periods.
Sure.
It has a lot of, because Terry spent a lot of time
He did.
working on.
Who was your character?
I played Deacon,
Deacon,
who was he's kind of a warlord, head of a group of survivors called the West Seven, and in the post-apocalyptic side. And he, season 1, he was an antagonist. And then he kind of gets pulled into, when Terry pitched me, he goes, we need to grow the ensemble for season 2. If this show is going to have legs, it can't just be about one person. And he said, so you'll be the sociopathic Han Solo. And I'm like, you read my dream journal. That's all I ever want to do. That's it.
How has your improv skill set served you in scripted television and film?
Well, I don't think it's a different skill set. It's the same skill set. Because like when you're acting, you're listening and you're having thoughts based on what the other character's saying, and then those thoughts inform your delivery, right?
Right.
But instead of saying the lines that are written, you say the lines that come to mind when you're improvising. So it's all about immediacy and being in the moment and staying connected to
And
your
I think with
partner.
scripted stuff, it similarly, it comes to you how to say it.
Yeah.
It may be written on the page, but then it comes through your vessel, through you.
And
the
literally
character you're
based on what you're receiving from your partner in the moment.
Yeah.
Like your reaction to them is organic based on what's happening in the scene. And that's the same as improv.
Part of the reason I ask is because I don't know if you remember or it came up when you were doing Enterprise, but you could not improvise.
Oh, so forgive me. When I say improvise, I don't mean creating dialogue. I mean the process to which I am informing the moment.
Gotcha.
It's all improvisation under the hood.
Right.
But you couldn't change a word of dialogue is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Picard, what was that?
Oh, that's different. Because
I kind of felt like it
but
was.
Terry is very collaborative, very organic. If we had a pitch for a different line, always bring it in.
Oh, wow.
This is a start, but if you have something, you're the one playing the role. So if you go, this could be done a different way, pitch it.
Right.
And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. As long we'll get what's on the page, and then you got something else.
How nice.
How was
great.
Sir Patrick with that? He was pretty good.
I mean, it's performer to performer, and Patrick loved keeping things spontaneous.
Good.
Patrick's one of lines that was in the trailer was came up on the day, and that was when he goes, "Those were the days." That was in the moment. We found that in the moment. And another one from episode 9 is my favorite. I couldn't keep a straight face. Is when Jerry looks at Data, and she goes, "The robot's right."
Yes.
I remember that.
Brooke goes, killed me.
I laughed at that one.
So funny.
Yeah.
Another improvised line. I say improvised, but we pitch it. Like, we're not going to just do it and burn time. I want to get the okay so that, I mean, other stuff will happen spontaneously in the scene.
Right.
But like, if you're changing a line of dialogue, it's often respectful to let them know that you're going to do it.
Right.
Sure.
So another one, there was a big moment where my character is fanboying out over Geordi.
Yeah.
The only character that he has any respect for is Geordi because he's a hero engineer and my character is a grease monkey. So like Geordi just basically reads me a laundry list of everything wrong with the ship after I've completely gushed over him. And I think the original line written for Shaw was, I went, touche. And I'm like, well, that doesn't track because touche usually means I insulted you, but then you insulted me back and you parried. But I wasn't insulting him. I was praising him, and then he sort of appeared to be insulting me.
It's more of an ouch, isn't it?
It was an out.
Yeah.
And so I just said, what if I said, it's been a weird week? To describe why the ship was falling apart. So Terry's like, yes, do that. And that made it in the final cut.
How was it being with that cast coming back together again after all these years? I mean, there's some big shoes to fill there, aren't there?
It's for myself
Oh, yeah, no.
to fill.
Look, you.
Well, here's the reality. I had worked with Frakes as a director,
right.
and I'd worked with Terry for a very long time.
So you felt comfortable in
It was
many
a warm,
respects.
warm room
Right.
to walk into. They really they're really kind.
Yeah.
And they love what they do,
Yeah.
and they love each other, and so there was a very much extension of the family, and it was the same on Enterprise. I was invited into the family.
Yeah, yeah.
People were super kind.
Ours was a very warm set too.
Yeah.
And you know the difference when you know, I'm sure you've stepped onto many sets where it's not quite like that. Can't wait to go home.
That's right.
Yeah,
it's
you don't
funny,
leave your
that one,
trailer.
isn't it?
Like, you know, it's a good show when you're wandering onto the set when you don't have to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that's fun.
exactly.
Was the Riches like that?
Riches was wonderful.
Yeah.
The Riches was wonderful. Oh, yeah, here's a fun fact. My bridge of the Titan is where the Malloy house was built for the Riches. So I literally same drive to
no
work,
kidding.
same soundstage.
Oh, wow. Santa Clarita?
Yeah.
Margarita, yeah.
Wow.
So it was my same drive to work and
Wow,
same
wow.
building. Yeah.
How impressive was it to walk on your bridge? Pretty cool.
Dude.
Yeah.
And I got to tour it. I was in for a fitting, and Terry's like, "You want to come see your bridge?"
Yeah.
Do I?
So I got to go and kick the tires before anybody showed up. It was just me.
Oh, cool.
Got to sit in my captain's chair.
Have a little moment.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And you want to own it, right? You want
Sure.
it to feel like it's yours. So
You
I-
certainly owned it. So I got to say, man, those early sort of scenes for you in those first 4 or 5 episodes, you
Oh my
just
God.
killed it.
You
they
do.
wrote a meal.
Yeah,
They wrote a meal.
They did, and you stepped up big time.
You know, I was
thank
thinking.
you.
No, really.
Yeah, you were fantastic.
Actor to actor, I mean, it was like, oh,
Yeah.
this guy knows, this guy's good.
Well, how
Yeah.
fun for a subordinate to stand up to Picard for the fandom to see that for the first time.
Yeah.
That was amazing.
It's it's funny. Somebody described Shaw as the first Gen X captain
Yeah.
because he's just not impressed.
It's funny. I was
That is funny.
I was thinking last night. It was. I just had this thought. Shaw is almost like Captain Queeg in the Kane Mutiny if all of the stuff actually happened. You
Right.
know,
Yeah.
he's just always like he's almost on these. You know, he's almost
beleaguered.
going over the edge.
He's just so done. So first off, half of our writing staff was unbelievable from the rooftop to the basement, and then half of them were 12 Monkeys writers.
Really?
So it was like walking into a role that I'd already been playing.
They'd heard your voice. Yeah.
Wow.
And they knew how to write to me, knew where to give me room to bring in my special sauce, and then let me do it. So I remember like early on, I would do something, and then Terry be like, "That's the guy." I'm like, "Good, because you're validating my instincts for this." But it was right there. It was on the page. That's how they wrote it, and so it was just like stepping into the costume that's cut to fit you.
Right.
Yeah, lovely.
Was the role made for you in a way, or
And I think they knew they needed a function. They needed this character in there, but they were calling him Captain Stashwick in the room, which is before I was even hired.
Oh wow!
And so they kind of knew the vibe I was going to bring based on having worked with him on 12 Monkeys, and so they just and part of me was like, "Is this Trek?" Like I'm happy to do it, and I'm loving it. And at the same time, I go, it is now,
Sure.
Yeah.
right? Because we're not doing The Next Generation. This is its own show, with its own original characters, Rafi,
Right.
and Vatic, and Jack Crusher, and all the ones that were in the previous 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So we're not doing.
It's got echoes.
So
It's
we're
got
not-
beautiful echoes. of Trek.
We're not doing, but it's its own show.
thing. Yeah.
And I think because it's its own show, they gave me the.
Indeed. The
They
freedom.
treated the character, and they also treated the character as important as they're treating Riker.
Yeah. And it didn't
Yes.
seem out of
Yeah.
place. The sort of the disharmony between what we knew as Trek and when now what we see is the
And that's also what made it not just a Valentine.
yeah.
It's like, no, it's its own show with its own voice and its own ideas and its own original characters. And I think, and at the same time, using the bricks of the past to build this new structure. Yeah.
Do you think it'll get a second look? What's the story there?
These are decisions far beyond my purview.
I think it's worth it. I mean, I have
I
to
do
say,
too.
I'm fully up to speed, and we can't spoil everything because people may not have seen everything yet.
Well, if they're watching this show, my guess is they've seen.
They've seen it.
Yeah. Maybe. I wonder.
I died.
One death
Can I just
to
say,
another.
a great death too. I mean, one of the good deaths.
Yeah.
Are you really dead though?
I mean, Terry has said that I'm in the whole season, and that is true. But it is a real death. It's a real death. It's a real death. I mean, and again, look, this is my phrase, and I've used it many times. I am Aragorn, and if they ever need my sword, they have it. And it's Star Trek. So like I said the joke was they should just do an in memoriam and show Spock's death and Data's death and Picard's death and Shaw's death. Like it's Star Trek, and they go, okay, we'll just, if they want him back, they'll figure out how. And Terry's got some great ideas.
You're just mostly dead.
Yes.
You're always
Hello,
mostly
Polly! Thank you. It's resting.
It's resting.
This is a dead So I think Terry and I have had discussions of like if we were fortunate enough to get to return to this show and these characters, not this show, but a show, but return to these characters, there's a really cool plan in place.
Good.
Right.
Yeah.
Good. I want to ask about the music.
Oh, it's so good.
It's available on vinyl.
So good. Yeah, I saw that.
Oh, cool.
And I have one. I've already spun that.
Have you?
Spun the
Now I'll
sample.
say this. Now this might not be a popular comment. I really like the music, but there were no words.
A deeply how controversial. So controversial. that's the Enterprise. I get it.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, really?
Come on, a few lyrics.
Where's the
Just a couple. It helps you with the scene.
It's not Star Trek without lyrics.
Yeah.
Especially in episode 9, again, we're just going to talk about spoilers, which, I did not get emotional watching my own demise. Moments later, when they show the ship, I'm like, oh my God, it's so beautiful. And then they play the classic theme where they first reveal it. And then when they walk on the bridge, the next gen theme kicks in.
Yeah.
It's just like, stop
Clever
it.
stuff.
Stop it.
I understand you're going to a screening tonight, aren't you?
At the IMAX,
and
yeah.
you're taking Walter, I believe.
Now, Walter's coming to my house.
He's coming to your house.
Walter's my neighbor.
Yeah.
And so Walter, he's going to come to my house. I'm going to order some deep dish pizza.
Very nice.
And we're gonna watch the finale.
Where do you get your deep dish?
I was just going to ask.
Gino's East.
Yeah.
Gino's East. Yeah.
There's no Lou Malnati's out
You
there.
can order it though.
Yeah, you can.
Lou's will
belly.
ship it.
Oh, they will?
Lou will ship it.
Wow. Which one do you prefer?
Oh, you're missing.
I like Gino's East just because it's fresher here. Like if I'm in
Here in
Chicago.
Chicago.
See, I like Leona's and I like Giordano's.
Yeah.
These are deep dishes, I take
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Do you like the pizza in New York?
I do. I'm not like a territorial pizza person. Like I grew up with Chicago style deep dish, and so I love it. But I'm not part of the pizza wars.
Oh, you're not.
And then I lived in New York, and I just like pizza.
Yeah.
So you put it, if you freeze it in a cube, I'm going to eat it on a stick. Like I like pizza.
In the summer.
That's Alaskan pizza, Alaskan style.
Yeah.
Pizzicles. What? I just coined a phrase.
With salmon, do you miss Taste
Are we
of
in
Chicago
proper
right
now?
here? Did you ever
Are we in
Chicago?
Taste
That
Chicago?
was come on. His Joe. He's on Criminal
Montaigne.
Minds. Joe Montaigne. Joe Montaigne. Yeah, that was his place, and he would actually import the dough from Chicago, and so it was very.
deep.
Makes a difference.
It does make a difference.
the water.
And
They all say that, don't they?
Yeah, they do.
and
New York, Chicago.
yeah, and we loved it when it was here. But Gino's East is fine.
Oh, yeah.
It's tasty.
Yeah, it's good. Chicago style hot dog.
Vegetarian, but I'll eat a veggie
no.
dog in a Chicago style.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you vegetarian?
Yeah,
Oh, good. How long?
but not a vegan. Since '88.
Oh, good.
wow.
That's a good stretch.
Why?
Because I'm a coward.
You're afraid of meat?
No, if somebody said, "Hey, there's a
fight the
cow, go kill that cow and cut it up so you can eat it," I'd be like, "No, I can't.
I don't want to.
I'm a baby." I couldn't do it, and
Other
so I
family?
sort of already felt like I was asking somebody else to do my dirty work.
Okay.
Is the family all you're all vegetarian? Or?
My son was, and then I think at 18, he's like, "I'm on my own. I'm making my own money. I'm gonna eat a burger." I'm like, "Cool, I don't care." But for my daughter is
Go kill that cow, son.
Yeah, but that's what it boiled down to.
Sure.
It's just like I couldn't hunt and I couldn't fish. I mean, if I had to, if I was again in Alaska and
You want naked and afraid.
100%,
Yeah.
I would. If it's me or the caribou, sorry, buddy.
Yeah, yeah.
No.
What is a Chicago hot dog?
It's oh come on, I'm on the
mentioned
spot.
it, and I don't know what it is.
It's pickles, onions.
Just no mustard.
I'm gonna get this wrong.
There's like
That's it.
pepper, right?
Pickles, onions. You can put a
No
pepper on
ketchup.
it. Celery salt is a big thing. Celery salt is on
Right.
it.
Oh, they put
Celery
that on?
salt.
No ketchup. Yeah.
And no,
No
if you order ketchup,
use
you're a
mustard?
tourist.
Yeah.
You can use mustard. but
Can use mustard. No
Strictly
ketchup.
no.
Yeah.
And is it a
ketchup.
poppy seed bun?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a salad in a hot dog.
Yeah.
And if to eat it all in one big
One done.
Yeah.
Mouthful.
Yeah.
I thought it was an inappropriate sex position, is what Nick just said.
The Chicago hot dog.
I think
Why
that's,
don't you try Chicago hot beef?
that's getting cut out.
What?
How'd you hurt your back? Chicago hot dog.
Was there mustard?
Stashwick gave me a Chicago hot dog.
Oh my gosh.
So you'll be doing all the conventions now.
I
Have you done some?
Several. I did the cruise, and then
Yeah.
I'm doing Calgary next week.
Good for you.
Oh,
Is that
nice.
your-
That's fun.
Is that your first
That's
one?
the first one not on water.
That's fun.
Right.
Yeah.
Calgary.
It should be fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a good town. It's a good little town.
Yeah.
It's funny. Like I hadn't seen Picard until we got on the ship, and
Like, who's this doofus?
well, you showed up as the ape, the leader of the
Yeah.
apes.
Yeah.
And I thought, God damn, he's good. because usually, a lot of those are fans. You
Okay,
wind
yeah,
up
yeah,
being
yeah.
in the Ape Man group, and then I, all you can watch on the TV is Star Trek series episodes, and
They
saw
gotcha.
and I saw it, and I was like, "Holy crap, he's good."
Thank you.
And then I really admired your work as the
Thank you.
as the King of the Apes.
That was some of my finest.
So,
Some of my finest. I had studied with apes for about 15 years.
yeah.
I was taken into their tribe.
Me and Jane Goodall.
Yeah, exactly.
Jane
I was,
introduced me to.
Yes, me and Coco.
Me and Coco. How's your sign language?
She taught me well.
Coco.
What happened to Coco? We don't know, do we?
No,
She
she
just
died.
disappeared
did?
one day.
Yeah, she died not too.
She told us to take care of the planet, and then she died. I just saw a documentary on her the other day about
That's literally her dying words.
to save the planet. Yeah, but I watched this documentary
I feel horrible now.
about how
do,
she
but-
wasn't actually communicating. She was basically saying shit until she got treats. So when you
That's
watch,
how we all
yeah.
operate,
Yeah,
isn't it?
thank you.
Yeah,
I mean,
Oh, an actor.
It's all food.
That's- yeah, exactly.
It's all food cues.
Right.
Saying things to your truth.
food and smooches.
The end.
right.
Put me on my gravestone.
Are you going to FedCon?
What's that?
That's the big
Not
German
yet. It's the
one.
big German one.
I have not been invited to that one yet.
You will be going
will be,
shortly, I'm sure,
yeah.
next year.
Yeah,
I would love to. I enjoy that. I was going to conventions as a fan.
Were you?
Yeah, I mean,
Creation in Vegas and
no, I was not going to Trek conventions. I was going to like Comic Cons
Okay.
and horror conventions and stuff like that. And then I've been on a bunch of nerd shows like Supernatural and the originals. And so I have,
those Supernatural boys.
yeah,
They have a fucking private jet.
they're ridiculous.
I think they
and
bought
they're,
a jet,
they're the coolest, nicest guys
they're the
in
coolest,
the world. Yeah, and I had actually done a pilot with.
Their 3 million fans show up to every single convention.
It's bonkers
Every weekend.
Yeah. And so I had tasted kind of the con life.
never as a guest though.
No, as a guest.
As a guest. Okay.
For those. And so but Trek is obviously next level. It's the size and legacy and years of.
I guess, yeah,
And if it hasn't taken you around the world yet, it's going to.
It's going to.
I'd like to. Yeah. I want to go to New Zealand.
They'll take
You
you.
will.
I'd like to go
you'll
to New Zealand.
It's beautiful.
Because I want to go to the Shire.
Right,
And
sure.
I want to get.
That's part of the
I
trip.
want to get my.
You'll do 2 weekends.
Tree of Gondor.
Christchurch and Auckland, and then in between you'll go to the Shire. You're going to love it.
I want to do that. And apparently the guy who did the Hobbits tattoos, because they all have the same tattoo, is still like there. So I want to get a tattoo.
Gonna.
from the man.
It's very pretty.
Yeah, you should take some extra time.
So hey, New Zealand, bring me
Yeah.
Yeah,
for my own vacation purposes.
that's right.
No,
You'll do tubing through the underneath the underground,
Sort of a spelunking thing.
and you can see all the what do you call those glowworms on the ceiling? It's pretty amazing.
It's pretty
to
fantastic.
do all of that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you get paid.
this year it's all stateside,
Nice.
as far as I know. Yeah. I'm doing Vegas. I'll be in Vegas.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Oh, you're going to be there this in August?
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh,
I'm
brilliant.
doing
Oh, well,
Vegas.
we'll hang.
So far, I know of Vegas, Calgary. Trying to think what's been announced. Vegas, Calgary, North Carolina. I'll do Raleigh.
Okay.
North Kakalaki?
Yeah. Columbus. I'm doing that one.
Ohio.
Ohio.
Yeah.
And then
They have one in
a few
Columbus,
more
Ohio.
that may or may not have been announced.
Good for you.
So like
Wow.
up to 6, I think. So
That's
far.
great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And with an impending writer's strike, it'll be fun to be busy.
Yeah. No kidding. Isn't
Does that affect your writing for your video game?
That is non-union. It's interesting, and here's why. Because games come from coding.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it started, video games are not
Is that their
considered.
story?
It works.
It started from coding. And so like when they were doing Pong, it never changed. So there wasn't like a union for the writers of video. Like when you're writing the script for Yar's Revenge, there was no union covering you. And so that's still is kind of extended forward.
On that note, you've got your hand in a bunch of different
I
areas.
got my mitts. I got my mitts.
Yeah, someone brought my attention to this. Here's what this camera will do. Oh, that camera. Where's my camera? That'll do.
There's your
There you
camera.
Mystic Libations for the Dungeons and Dragons gamer. And
we found that the Venn diagram of people that play Dungeons and Dragons and that drink, it's just one solid circle. So
where's the overlap?
So there's no overlap. It just is a circle.
It's a hole,
and so when during the kind of height of lockdown, I had met this gentleman, Brandon Cleely, and Brandon is the one who's been making the Titan shirts that people have been enjoying. Brandon was an Imagineer. And he had done a lot of art direction and set design for Trader Sam's, the cocktail bar at Disneyland. And he was a big 12 Monkeys fan, and we met because he wanted to interview me on his Instagram thing. But he's also a game guy, but he never played D&D. So I was like, hey, I'll teach you how to play D&D on Zoom. So we're all playing D&D on Zoom, and he's a tiki guy because he has his own site, traderbrandon.com, where he sells like tiki stuff. And I'm like, that's cool. So I said, what if we make a recipe for a drink that we all can make in our different locations because we're all in lockdown, but to sort of create this sense of connection, let's all make our own cocktail. But we'll all make the same cocktail. And he's like, I love that. So he made a little graphic recipe and gave it a clever name, and we would email that to our players. After about 5 or 6 of these, I was like, I think we're onto something. And do you think if we kickstarted a book, people would buy it? Lo and behold, we pre-sold 1,000 copies.
Wow.
Yeah. And so that paid for the printing of the book.
What was the first drink? Do you remember?
The very first one. It might have been like the Rum Raven or the Rogue Raven or something like that. And it would be like, it's a really good recipe in there. It has frozen ginger beer cubes. So you make the drink and then you put the ginger beer cubes in. It's delicious. Delicious. So then this guy, Roy Hansel, who is a bartender at Trader Sam's at Disney, created all of our recipes. So they're bona fide.
Oh, wow.
And then we got a bunch of artists. I wrote all of the narrative. So it's actually a story that sort of pulls you through the whole book. And then there's a playable one-shot at the back. For you D&D people, you know what that means. But it's like it's a D&D adventure you can play in one evening. And so we put it together, and the response has been huge, right, after all of your tiki drinks. And it's been very popular, and we wanted it to sit on your game shelf or sit on your bar shelf, and it works. So
cool.
So we self-publish it.
Mystic Libations.
You can get it at thenerdcircus.com.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'm signing them this week. So if you buy them right now, I'm signing the books and selling them.
Now, D&D, my brother played it when we were kids, and they'd play all night long. And, they would go.
The sessions can go up to 7 hours. Some people do it all night. I have other things, but I have to.
Right. But it's a world where they would go and raid AM, PM at, 3 in the morning and get their burritos and 32 ounces and play forever and ever and ever.
It's the best game in the world.
It fell in popularity at some point and then really picked back up.
Yeah. I think when Hasbro bought it, Wizards of the Coast. So it was TSR, Gary Gygax, Dave Arneson. They created the game. And TSR was the original company out of Lake Geneva. That's when I was playing it as a kid, 79.
Right.
Then I went away from it for a very long time because of a thing called the Satanic Panic. I was a very impressionable, imaginative kid. And some camp counselor told me that it was the gateway to Satan. And I bought it, and I gave away all my books.
Did you really?
I did.
Oh.
I did. And then as an adult, I stopped believing that hokum and went to eBay and bought all my books back.
Joined the Catholic Church.
Now, does your character stay? I mean, you stop playing it. They just gain strength and more power.
Yeah,
don't
you
they,
level
go
up.
along?
The character that I was playing as a kid, I didn't play again, but I did create a new character who is a distant relative of the original character, just for fun. And I've been playing the same game for 5 years, the same campaign.
You sold all your stuff and
as a boy, I didn't sell it. I actually gave it away. Foolish
all because
mortal.
of some camp counselor literally telling you that this was...
Well, it was also a cultural thing here, the Satanic Panic. It was a big thing in rock and roll music and backwards masking. And there was this whole movement, this sort of right-wing movement that evil was coming to our children through games and rock and roll. And we bought it. And I was young, and so it stopped me. And then I came back to the game. Well, I started buying my books back when I was when eBay existed. I'm like, oh, I want those back just to look at them and have them in my collection. And
It's the
then
first I've ever heard of the Satanic Panic.
Same
I
here.
have to say.
it was a big thing.
Yeah, it was.
It was a big thing. Yeah, there was a movie made about it called Mazes and Monsters with Tom Hanks.
Oh, wow.
In the 80s, one of his first jobs.
You're kidding.
About a kid who lost his mind because of D&D. Yeah.
Were they debunking it, or were they really going for
It was
it?
based on a fictional novel about a kid who he broke with reality because of his gateway drug to Satan. But it's a great pastime. And I think around 2015, there was a 5th edition that they released of the rule sets. And the game really took off again. And I think the pandemic certainly actually helped it because people were connecting and playing with it on Zoom.
I'm sure.
And my daughter now is a dungeon master, and she plays with her, friends. She started playing at the same age I was when I started playing.
Oh, how cool.
Hail Satan.
Satan. That caught me off guard.
So it's the best game in the world. I just came back from Lake Geneva.
I've never played it. I've never seen the board of it.
It's not a board. It's not a board.
Oh,
It's an imagination game. It's played with dice and character sheets. You can have a map and minis, and you can do that.
I thought they were.
But it could be theater of the mind as well. It's great.
Okay.
It's great. I'm actually going to be playing with Jerry, and I'm getting a group of trekkers together.
Oh, are you?
Yeah.
Do you know Bonnie Gordon?
I've just played with her.
No kidding. She was on.
I just played with her.
She's a big D&D.
I love her.
Isn't she? Yeah.
Yeah, so I just ran a game for her last week, actually.
Oh, that's awesome.
So there's no board.
There doesn't have to be. There doesn't have
I
to be.
thought there were pieces that you
There
move
are, you
around,
can.
like Cluedo.
No, it's not like a board game.
Okay.
It's you draw maps, and you can have terrain, and I'm
So, and do you play it on your computer then? And listen to me, I'm so fucking old.
There are men older than you that play Dungeons and Dragons.
No kidding.
I mean, the game started in the mid '70s, so it's been around a while. It's about to celebrate its 50th next year.
That's crazy. Did you see the movie?
I did. It was a lot of fun.
Was it good?
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, yeah.
I want to see it.
It's a hoot.
It just came out, right?
Yeah,
A little bit ago, yeah. So you mentioned Nerd Circus.
Yeah.
What does that all entail? It's a company of yours, right?
So again, during lockdown, my hands have to be. I gotta make things. I like to make things,
right?
Whether it's making a theater show or making a book, I like to make things, and so I wanted to make a company to. So when I started playing D&D, and when I started like all of my love for Star Wars, and all of it all started in the '70s, and I wanted to share like my vibe of what my nerddom is, and so the Nerd Circus is basically a platform to which I can share merchandise. So I've crafted dice that you play D&D with, and dice towers that you roll, and Mai Tai glasses with art, so they sort of feel like the old Burger King glasses.
Oh yeah.
And
Who'd you
t-shirts.
go to make these sort of things? Have you? I mean,
You just dig in and do
just
your
go back,
research.
yeah, right.
Like the t-shirts are printed on Printful,
Right.
so they're print to order. The dice, I found a manufacturer. The same with the printer. All the research. I did, and then I created a Shopify site, and then with pictures and descriptions, and put it out to the wild. And a lot of the stuff, the T-shirts are kind of inspired by the shows that I've been on, and then a lot of the D&D stuff is just adding gear to your game,
Right.
And it all just sort of fit under the banner of the Nerd Circus, and so it's just like a little side project for fun.
You're gonna run the world.
You are, aren't you?
If they'll have me.
Do you get up early?
I do.
Yeah.
I'm a
You're
5
o'clock?
5:30, 6 a.m.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
You go to bed early then?
I go to bed around 11. Watch Miss Maisel and go to sleep. I like the mornings.
I'm a morning guy.
often will go to the gym first thing. I like being quiet and reading. I like the house quiet. My wife is asleep in her, and my daughter's asleep in her. My son's got his own place, but even the dogs are asleep. The house is quiet, and I love that. And then I can get all my reading done or emailing done and all of that before anybody even wakes up.
Right.
Even I'll go to the gym, come back, and still have a little time.
So it's still 9 o'clock and everyone's just this, stirring.
Yeah, I mean, if it is a school day, I like, and it's like sleeping into me. If I like sleep till 8, I'm like, where's the day gone?
Right.
I can't. My body will not keep sleeping, and it's not. I don't appraise it. It's not better or worse than people that sleep late.
Sure.
It's. I just am a
your
morning.
clock,
I'm
yeah.
just a morning person. Yeah.
Me too. I am.
But I'm a napper.
I'm a napper too.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm a
I discovered the
gosh.
nap a couple of years
I'm
ago.
not a napper.
Oh,
I'm a napper.
I can't
I'm
nap.
a big napper.
I love the naps.
Yeah.
I do love the nap. It doesn't have to be long.
No?
No, half an hour.
Sometimes you don't even
After
have
lunch.
to actually fall asleep.
That's exactly right. You can go to that sort of like half awake zone, and that's good enough. You just a little bit of a refill.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, I love it. 20 minutes.
Yeah,
That's all I need.
yeah.
Bless
An
you
hour's too
guys.
long, but
The 20 minutes is a good circadian rhythm. Like you can get in and out, and you're rested.
Are you guys ready for some fan questions?
Let's do
Oh,
it.
yeah.
Yeah? All right.
We had a
Let's get right
lot.
in.
We had more fan questions for this episode than we've ever had by far. I
Big
couldn't
compliment.
even read through them all. So
First question for you, Todd,
Yes.
is from Brendan Tedford from Patreon. He asks, what is your favorite Shaw moment?
Well, there's many. It's hard to pick one. I mean, look, from an actor standpoint, when you're given like really meaty material, and I would say the Wolf 359 speech that I have was such a wonderful challenge, and the event itself, the shooting of the event, because Frakes was directing that episode and Patrick and Ed in the scene with me, that was just one of those rare, wonderful things that you're given. It's a gift as an actor to get that kind of material. So
Jonathan's great, isn't he?
it's the best.
and you nailed that
Thank you,
speech.
You
It
did.
was it was a special piece to.
How many takes did you do you think?
I don't know. Jonathan allowed me to reset every time,
Right.
so that there could be a sort of a tethered through line in the performance every time. So I don't know how many, and then setups, of course. But he always let me begin the speech from the top, so that I could kind of.
Find your way.
make your way
Yeah,
there.
yeah. So I didn't ever have to enter it at 50 miles an hour.
Right.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, he nailed it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's sort of that thing that.
That was definitely. When I was watching, I was like, oh, this guy.
Yeah. Cisco, the captain of DS9.
Yeah.
What's the actor's
Avery.
name? Avery.
Avery Brooks.
Avery said something about how in the documentaries, telling the actors when he was directing them that, just find the jazz in it. Find the jazz in the speech, and you certainly found it.
Found the jazz.
Yeah, you found the jazz.
It's I was also lucky because there was a 2-part episode that informed what I was talking about. There was Best of Both Worlds, and so I was able to have actual research material, so I could go, oh, this is what I was going through. This is what the sky looked like. This is
How much did you have to do some sort of back research? Because this third season is just loaded with Star Trek history.
Well, for that speech specifically, I wanted to go. I was there on one of these ships during this scene.
Yeah.
I'm in that scene somewhere. So for that, but in terms of everything else, like I'm not responsible to the Easter eggs, right?
No.
I'm not responsible to the narrative tethers. I'm only responsible for Shaw's journey.
Right.
So I didn't really have. I mean, I was a Trek fan. I've watched the show, but I didn't have to hold the history of the show in my head in the same way that Terry and the writers do.
Sure.
Yeah, they must have watched the whole damn lot, man. I mean, they clearly.
Oh, I'm sure.
But he also has, an amazing propensity for
remembering
those details.
Right.
All right. Our next question is from Mars from Patreon. You and Bonnie Gordon walk in a similar circles of nerdom. Are there any plans to team up with her at STLV for a D&D panel?
I have not. I mean, I'm certainly not opposed. I love Bonnie. Literally had her over to the house last week to play Dungeons and Dragons. So I think that's what they're referring to, is that we both are we have our feet in the TTRPG community. I would certainly. I would not oppose to the idea. It sounds like it could be a lot of fun.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Nina from Patreon. Hi, Nina. She asks, how did it feel like to say no to the Jean-Luc Picard?
Well, that was, it was fun about that is the character immediately takes high status in my introduction to these characters. And so there was an immediate vibe. Like, people knew who Shaw was from word go. And as an actor, what fun to like take a piss, right? Like with these legends.
Yeah.
So rather than be a sycophantish character, it was such a declaration of independence of who this guy is going to be in this season. So it was a blast. It was an absolute blast.
Yeah,
it was
I
great.
imagine.
Oh, yeah, you got to establish the playing field.
And immediately, like he certainly was claiming his ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, certainly claiming his ground.
At SparkyForever84 from Twitter asks, what is the most prized possession in your nerd lair?
I'm going to probably say my Kenner, my original Kenner Star Wars figures, because they were the very same ones that I've had since I was like 8 or 9 years old. So those mean a lot to me. And then
the camp mentor didn't have you sell those off.
No satanic panic with Star Wars. So those are very important to me because I've had them forever, and those were the seeds of imaginary play, which again I continue to do professionally.
Are they dotted around the house, or is it? Is there a shrine room?
That's all over the house. Like we have glass cases, we have Star Wars cases, we have Batman case, we have a Joker case. Like I have cases of figures and stuff. Some of the real prize stuff is in the house, with lock and key. And then there's just a lot of toys in the nerd lair, which is locked up as well. But
when did you become an in-the-box collector as opposed to out-of-the-box? And
probably as an adult, because and more so not because of like the value, but because of the display. Because I love the classic art on those Mego action figures as well, and so you want. Part of the joy was, again, remember seeing the presentation of the thing, and so preserving that is very fun to look at because it gives me all the old feelings.
Who does the dusting?
We all do. We all do. Yeah.
It's a collective dusting.
Yeah, it is collectibles.
All right, we got one more here. Friend of the show, Todd from the Computer Resume podcast. Hi, Todd. He asks.
Todd.
First of all, thank you for making guys named Todd look cool.
Oh, it's a lot of work, I'll tell you. I mean,
constant vigilance.
It's a very, very strict regimen.
What is your favorite race, class, background, character combo to play in D&D?
I have a half-elf sorcerer who was a sailor, so like a pirate. And that I love. I love sorcerers. I love half-elves. Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about D&D. Now I'm very curious. I'm like
it's the best game in the world.
I'm curious.
I just knocked down your doodad.
You should invite yourself to go play a game.
I'm inviting myself.
Done. We'll play D&D. We'll play it on here.
Do you want to?
Yeah, I can throw dice.
Oh, you know how fun it would be to play D&D.
We could do a
on here?
D&D game here.
That would be amazing.
Cool.
Just turn the cameras on, and what the hell?
No, we can set this up.
God
We
knows
can
I've
play
been a
D&D
half elf half my life.
on your mother's side.
Jackson from Patreon asks, if you could visit any time period, where, when, and why?
Visit any time period.
Brothel in Victoria.
Yeah, right.
Been there.
Visit any time period. That's a great question because there's so many great time periods. Like when we think about you'd want to be a tourist just sort of viewing it, but the Dark Ages would have just smelled, right? They would have been horrible.
Sounds gross.
Yeah. But it would be cool.
It did.
I mean, look, the Victorian London would have been cool. Like I think with all the carriages and the gaslights and
cheap gin,
right?
Yes, opium dens,
smog,
Jack the Ripper. It's those halcyon days.
Get away with it.
Exactly.
Those halcyon days
for centuries,
unsolved. Yeah.
That's it. I think we're gonna play some Star Trek trivia.
Hot dog.
Today we are playing trivia for Patreon member TJ Jackson Bay. Hi, TJ.
Hey, TJ.
I want to say thank you to Zach and Chris from the Random Red Shirt podcast for helping us with trivia. You guys are awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Random
guys.
Red Shirts.
And here we go.
Okay.
And we got to remember that winner gets a car.
Gets a car. It's a little toy car.
That big.
I'll tell you. I like cars.
I like cars.
5 questions. Here we go. All right. Question number 1. In the Picard Season 3 premiere, Riker and Picard meet at the Bar 10 Forward located in what Earth city? A, New Orleans, B, Paris, C, Seattle, D, Los Angeles.
That would be Los Angeles.
Oh,
Crab sandwich.
How come I was there when Amber and I was there? I'm ticked off.
Question number 2. In Strange New Worlds, what subspecies is Lieutenant Hemmer? A, Tellarite, B, Enar, C, Klingon, D, half Vulcan, half human.
Guys,
Woo!
what do we think?
I've never seen Strange
Me
New
neither.
Worlds.
Oh, I have.
So, you know, when you're...
Tellarites, half Vulcan, half what was the last one?
Half Vulcan, half human.
What's the first one?
Tellarite.
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 And no, it's
Tellarite.
Do you know this? Do you have?
Yeah, it's Tellarite.
It's Tellarite. Damn.
Is it not?
Enar, it's Enar, yeah. Nailed it.
No.
2-0.
Oh, gosh.
I thought Hammer was Andorian. I don't know the guy.
Enar is a subspecies of Andorian. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nerd alert.
You didn't know.
Oh, I'm impressed. I'm impressed.
He's yeah.
It's on all day on a loop.
But I knew that it was
Try working with
Andorian
him.
race, right?
Ish.
Andorian.
So do I get a
It's gonna
half
go.
amber?
It's gonna go back
sympathy
again.
point.
All right.
Question number 3. In Picard, what plant has Raffi become dependent on? A, snake leaf, B, pipeweed, C, lotus root, or D, soma?
Not a clue.
Soma?
Well, we got it. So
Soma's from Brave New World, so that's not that.
Soma.
Lotus root sounded good.
And who's the character?
Raffi.
Raffi.
Snake leaf.
Yes.
You want to go with Snake Leaf?
I did.
Hey!
Good man.
2-1, right?
2-1. Question number 4. In Deep Space Nine, Captain Sisko's father owns a restaurant in what Earth city? A, Paris, B, New Orleans, C, San Francisco, or D, Sydney?
New Orleans.
I knew that one.
Of course.
3-1. Question
Soul
number
food.
5. What is the name of Picard's pit bull? A,
I know this.
Locutus,
Mark.
B, Spot, C, Earl Grey, D, number 1.
Number 1.
How do you do that?
How does he get in there? I knew that one too.
Is it just like a technique you've been
I don't
practicing
know.
at home?
Connor had it down the first couple of weeks with the buzzer.
But you know what? Because I felt like I was cheating because I was just watching Chris to see when he activated the little buzzer. So
that's really smart.
I pulled away to be honest about this thing.
I'm watching
and
the
I never knew,
That's not-
and I never knew the answer. So
That's fair. That's fair.
Well,
That's fair.
Is there one more question?
no,
No, that's
That's
it.
it.
That's it. We got thrashed.
boy.
Sorry. Who did we lose for?
TJ Jackson Bay, is
For
that him?
TJ. Sorry, TJ.
TJ Jackson Bay.
We tried our best.
All right, guys. Are you ready for Stuck on a Deserted Island with Connor Trinneer?
So you're on a deserted island for the rest of your life. You get to select your cuisine. That would be the collective cuisine of like French, Italian.
Sure.
Your author's complete works. Your dessert. So if you were to pick ice cream, you get all kinds of ice cream.
Okay.
It's a great island. And then your musician, your band.
Okay.
Composer.
Okay.
And then you get a bonus item.
Dominic's luxury item.
A luxury.
Yeah.
A luxury item, but it can't be like a TV. You know, it needs to be. It
can't be an airplane.
It can't be an airplane.
Nothing to get you off.
Right. Yeah.
Get you off or
In any
off the
communication
island.
Nothing that
with
saves
another
you.
human
Right. You
or
don't
off
get a
the
cell
A
phone.
holodeck.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So, what would be your author?
Tolkien.
Yeah.
There's so much. There's enough. If I could have all of the works of that could keep me reading for a very long time.
Yeah.
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 Okay.
His grandson taught me English at school. How about that? Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
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 I'm a
Michael
I'm a fan.
Tolkien.
I'm a fan.
Oh. Your cuisine.
Mexican.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
Your musician band.
The Beatles.
The Beatles.
Oh, yeah.
I'm gonna come hang out on your island. And what was the other one? Dessert.
Dessert.
Key lime pie.
I love key lime.
Or pie.
You-
Can I
you
just
can-
say
there you go.
pie?
Pie is-
Pie.
Right. There you go.
KCRW
Pie.
pie. Banana cream pie. Key lime
Pie.
pie.
And then
It's
your
Pie Fest.
your bonus item.
My wife.
No. I'm sorry.
That was a
Unless
good
she's
answer,
a
though.
machete.
Right. Or a hammock.
I love you, darling. That's what I named her.
That's what I named
I'd like
it.
to introduce you to my wife.
What's her name?
Bonus item. Wow.
Well, you could take Dungeons and Dragons with you.
Okay, yeah, but
The
there's nobody
board
to play with.
Well, you could have imaginary friends.
The characters in Shakespeare and make them
Purpose,
into...
Dominic.
Yeah, a couple of the crabs. I don't really know.
No, like a pet?
Yeah, someone picked a pet the other week.
We did allow a dog.
We did allow a dog.
Yeah.
I'm
Okay.
thinking more along the lines of like a machete or a hammock. Or,
Oh, like a survival item.
yeah.
Something to make fire with.
Oh.
There you go. Right.
Something to make fire with. Whether it's
Like a
fire starter.
A fire starter of sorts.
So like a maybe a flint like a flint
Yes, all right.
Right.
to
Okay.
make fire. That will serve me well.
It will serve you well.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, yeah, let's go hang out at Todd's Island.
Yeah.
It's not a bad
That's
island.
not a bad island.
Yeah.
Yeah, excellent.
Connor visits once a.
I do. It's sort of like being on Survivor. I show up every now and then to see how
Thank
everything's
you.
going.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean the
Fully
Beatles
showered.
catalog is unbelievably
Yeah.
vast and varied, and I've gotten to see Paul 3 times.
Ah.
The last time I saw him, I took my daughter. She was 12, and we were at Dodger Stadium, and he goes, "Want to bring a friend out?" And she's like, "Daddy, no." He's like, "Ladies and gentlemen," and she's like, "Daddy, no." And he goes, "Mr. Ringo Starr." And so I watched Ringo and Paul perform together.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Yeah. So that was like I was like, "Baby girl, you are never going to see this again.
No.
This is the Beatles. This is as close as you're ever going to get."
Right, right.
And here it is.
Wow.
And they did Helter Skelter together, and they did the Sgt. Pepper reprise.
Wow. Wow. Well, listen, it's been such a pleasure having you on.
Thanks.
It really has been.
And
Super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Super
thanks
finding
for
out what
coming.
makes it all
Thank you.
tick. Yeah.
TikTok.
Can't wait to see it at the conventions.
We'll be.
You know,
We will be all there
Share
together.
a couple of
Are you-
libations.
Raising a glass.
Are you doing the sort of one-day deal? Or are you going for
No,
the
I'm going
signing
to go for
fee?
the duration.
Oh, great.
I mean, again, this is my first ride around the block, so I want the full experience.
There we go. What's
Are we
that?
pouring one out right now?
Yeah, sure.
They just gave me a bottle of whiskey. Thank you.
You're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoy.
Very cool. Thank you, Todd, so much.
Thank
Yeah,
you so
yeah,
much.
Yeah.
Thank you, mate.
Patreon members, please come to Patreon. We're going to have a conversation as chosen by our Patreon members. We're going to talk a little bit about whether or not Todd had any concerns about being hated by the fan base for his role starting out the way it did. So join us on Patreon.
Like, subscribe, and join us on Patreon.